Level 1, you sit in a bland government office. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. You filled out a 57-page application. You've listed every address you've lived at since you were 18, every job, every foreign contact, every time you left the country. You're 24, college degree in criminal justice, clean record, no drugs beyond that one semester in sophomore year, which you disclosed. You run 5 miles 4 times a week. You've wanted this since you saw a documentary at 16. The interviewer asks if you've ever stolen anything. You mentioned a candy bar when you were 12. So he writes it down. He asks if you'd take a bullet for someone you disagreed with politically. So you say yes without hesitation. He asks if your spouse supports this career. You're not married? Sorry, he writes that down too. The polygraph comes next week. They'll ask about the candy bar again. They'll ask about drugs again. They'll ask questions designed to spike your heart rate, then ask them differently to see if the spike changes. The exam takes 4 hours. You pass. Background investigation takes 9 months. Investigators interview your college roommate, your high school guidance counselor, your ex-girlfriend from junior year. They talk to your neighbor from 3 addresses ago. Someone calls your mom and asks if you've ever expressed views against the government. She cries after the call, tells you later. She said, "You were a good boy, you wait, you work retail, you keep running, you don't get arrested, don't accrue debt, don't post anything stupid online. You are boring and perfect and clean." The letter arrives. Report to Rowley Training Center in Maryland in 6 weeks. You quit your job. You say goodbye to friends who don't really understand what you're doing. You drive to Maryland with everything you own. You are ready. You think you're ready. Level 2. You share a dorm room with 3 other recruits, former military, former cops, one guy who worked corporate security. You're the youngest. You wake at 5:30 a.m., physical training before breakfast. Running, push-ups, defensive tactics. You're fit, but not fit like this. The former Marine laps you. You finish meals in 12 minutes because that's how long you have. Classroom work, criminal law, protection theory, emergency medicine, behavioral threat assessment. You learn the difference between cover and concealment. You memorize assassination attempts going back to Andrew Jackson. You study the Zapruder film frame by frame, firearms training 3 days a week. You've shot guns before, but never like this. Sig Sauer P229, draw, acquire, fire, 2 rounds, center mass. Again, your hands cramp, your ears ring through the protection. You shoot from behind cars, from stairs, from moving platforms. You shoot one-handed because your other hand is busy moving a protectee. You shoot weak-handed because your strong hand is injured. Scenario training starts month 2. You wear a suit for the first time in training. Earpiece in. You walk beside an instructor playing the protectee. Someone in the crowd moves wrong. You react. You're too slow. You die in the scenario. The protectee dies. You run it again. Defensive tactics. You learn to fight in a suit. No flashy moves, efficiency. Get the threat down, cover the protectee, evacuate. You take punches. You learn to continue functioning through pain. Emergency vehicle operations. You drive an armored Suburban through a cone course at 60 miles per hour. You perform a J-turn. You ram a blocking vehicle. You drive in reverse faster than most people drive forward. You study medicine, gunshot wounds, cardiac events, nerve agents. You practice with an EpiPen on an orange. You learn to pack a sucking chest wound. You fail a tactics exam. You remediate. You pass on the second attempt. 3 recruits quit in month 4. 1 gets injured and recycled to the next class. 1 fails the final firearms qualification. You graduate after 7 months, badge ceremony. Your mom comes. She still doesn't totally understand, but she's proud. You are now a special agent of the United States Secret Service. You get your first assignment in the Presidential Protective Division. No, you're going to the Minneapolis field office, financial crimes. You thought you'd protect the president. Instead, you're investigating credit card fraud. Level 3. Track it from the retailer who accepted it, to the person who passed it, to the printer who made it. You execute search warrants on basement operations with inkjet printers and cotton fiber paper. You seize $40,000 in fake 20s, the defendant pleads out. You write reports, you work access device fraud, skimmers on gas pumps, stolen credit card numbers, dark web marketplaces. You coordinate with the U.S. Attorney's Office. You testify in court. Defense attorney tries to rattle you. You stay calm, you've been trained, guilty verdict, you volunteer for protection duty whenever it comes through town. Vice president visits for a fundraiser. You stand post outside the hotel ballroom for 6 hours. You don't sit, you don't lean, you watch faces in the crowd. Nothing happens. This is the job when nothing happens. You work bank fraud, wire fraud, romance scams, where people lose their retirement to someone they've never met. You tell a 70-year-old woman that the man she's been talking to for 8 months doesn't exist. She doesn't believe you. She sent him $200,000. You've seen the scammer's real profile. He's 19 in Nigeria, running 40 accounts. You make GS13 pay, about $90,000 with locality adjustment. You work 50-hour weeks minimum. No overtime pay at your level. You're salaried. You apply for a protective assignment. You want PPD, Presidential Protective Division, the detail, the actual job you imagined. You get Vice Presidential Protective Division instead. VPPD, close enough. You pack your life again. You're moving to DC, level 4. You stand post outside the Vice President's residence at the Naval Observatory, midnight to 8 a.m. shift. January, it's 22 degrees. You wear a coat, but you're still cold. You watch the tree line. You watch the street. You radio in every 30 minutes, nothing to report. You are one of 12 agents on this shift. 3 shifts, rotating coverage. You work 5 days, off 2, but the days rotate. Your sleep schedule is destroyed within a month. You stand post at events, fundraisers, speeches, school visits. You arrive 4 hours early. You sweep the venue. You identify exits, choke points, trauma centers. You coordinate with local police. You stand in position. The VP arrives, speaks for 30 minutes, leaves, you break down. You've been on site for 7 hours, you travel. The VP goes to Ohio. You fly commercial the day before, stay in a mid-tier hotel, advance the site. The VP flies in on Air Force 2. You're part of the arrival team. You move with the motorcade, you stand post while the VP takes photos with donors, you fly home the next day. You miss your girlfriend's birthday. You miss Thanksgiving. You're working Christmas Eve. She asks when you'll have a normal schedule. You tell her when you transfer off the detail. She asks when that will be. You say 3 to 5 years. She goes quiet. You see the VP more than you see her. You know his schedule better than your own. You know he takes coffee at 6 a.m. Black, 2 sugars. You know he's left-handed. You know the names of his grandchildren because they visit and you clear them through security. You don't know him. You've never had a conversation beyond, "Good morning, sir." You're not friends. You're the help. You're the weapon that stands between him and threats. A man jumps the fence at the observatory 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, alarms trip. You respond. Uniformed division tackles him before he makes it 30 feet. Mentally ill, unarmed. You write reports until 6 a.m. This is the job. Your girlfriend leaves. She says she can't do this. She needs someone present. You are never present, even when you're home. She's right. You apply for PPD, Presidential Protective Division, the actual detail, the top, you're accepted. Level 5. You protect the President of the United States. You are one of roughly 200 agents on PPD. You are the best of the best of the best. You are also exhausted within 3 months. The president travels constantly. Foreign trips, domestic rallies, summits, fundraisers. You advance sites in 12 different cities in 1 month. You sleep in hotels you don't remember. You eat meals standing up. You work the follow-up vehicle. You're in the Suburban directly behind the presidential limo. When the limo stops, you're out in 2.8 seconds. You've drilled it 10,000 times. You establish 360-degree security. Your sector is rear left. You watch your sector, only your sector. You trust your team to watch theirs. A protest gets loud. Crowd pushes barriers. You don't flinch. You don't look. You watch your sector. The president is moved inside. You collapse the perimeter. Everyone's safe. Write reports. You travel to Europe. 3-country trip in 4 days. You arrive 2 days early to advance. You how does coordinate with host nation security, language barriers, different protocols. You smile and nod and make it work. You sleep 4 hours a night. Your body adapts, then stops adapting. You're sick 3 times in 6 months. You work through it. You don't call out sick on PPD unless you're hospitalized. The president has a dinner. You stand post in the hallway outside the private dining room, 4-hour meal. You don't eat. You had a protein bar at 3 p.m. It's now 11 p.m. You'll eat when you're off shift at 2 a.m. Your father has a heart attack. You request emergency leave. Approved. You fly home. He's stable. You stay 2 days. You fly back. You miss 4 days of work and you feel guilty. No one on your shift says anything, but you know they covered your assignments. You make $110,000 a year. You work 70-hour weeks minimum. Overseas trips push it to 90. No overtime. You don't have a relationship. You don't have hobbies. You go to the gym because physical fitness is required. You sleep when you can. Another agent has a breakdown, panic attack during a shift. He's quietly reassigned. No one talks about it. You're good at this job. You're fast. You're alert. You score expert on firearms quals every time you get noticed. You're offered a spot on CAT, counter assault team. You accept. Level 6. You are no longer in a suit. You wear tactical gear, plate carrier, helmet, rifle. You carry a Stoner SR-16 rifle and a Sig Sauer P229 sidearm. You are the violence. CAT is the last line of defense. If an attack happens, you don't evacuate the president. You run toward the threat. You engage. You eliminate. You train constantly. Firearms drills every week. You shoot from vehicles, from barricades, from prone. You do stress shoots, sprint 100 yards, then engage 12 targets in 8 seconds. You hit them all. Close quarters, battle training, room clearing, hostage rescue scenarios. You train with FBI HRT, Delta Force, DEVGRU. You are Tier 1 adjacent. Not quite special operations, but close enough to see it. You're in the Suburban with the minigun mount. You ride in motorcades with your rifle ready. If the limo gets attacked, you dismount and engage while PPD evacuates. You're the hammer. They're the shield. You go overseas, high threat environment. The president visits a country with active terrorist cells. You wear full kit. You scan rooftops. Your rifle is condition 1, round chambered, safety on, ready. Nothing happens. This is success. You fly home. You make $120,000 base. Slightly higher than standard PPD because of the specialized role. Still no overtime. You train in counter sniper tactics, vehicle ambush response, chemical biological threats. You learn to identify the sound of different calibers by ear. You can tell the difference between fireworks and gunfire instantly. Your mom asks what you do. You say you protect the president. She asks if you wear a suit. You say not anymore. She doesn't understand. You don't explain. New president elected, new administration, new detail. Some agents rotate off, you stay, CAT stays. You protect the office, not the person. You're 32 years old. You've been doing this for 8 years. Your knees hurt, your back hurts. You've had 2 concussions from training accidents. You don't sleep well. You're alert, even in your sleep. Another agent eats his gun, off duty, at home. You didn't know him well, but you'd worked with him. The email goes out. Employee assistance program information, counseling available, no one goes. You're offered a promotion, shift leader, more responsibility, more pay, GS-14, about $135,000. You take it. You're moving up. Level 7. You run a shift of 12 agents. You coordinate posts, rotations, coverage. You handle the politics. Agent calls in sick, you find coverage. Agent screws up, you handle discipline. Agent has a family emergency, you work their post yourself. You still do protection work, but now you also do paperwork. Schedules, evaluations, incident reports. You're good at the tactical stuff. You're learning the administrative stuff. You brief the detail leader daily. You identify vulnerabilities in coverage, you recommend adjustments, most are approved, you implement them. You're in meetings constantly, coordination meetings with uniform division, with intelligence, with White House staff. Everyone wants something, you make it work. The president travels to a conflict zone, unannounced trip. You're part of the advance team. You land in country under blackout conditions. You coordinate with military assets. You establish secure perimeter. The president arrives, spends 6 hours on the ground, leaves. You're there for 96 hours total. You sleep maybe 8. You write commendations for your agents. Good work deserves recognition. You also write counseling memos. An agent shows up late twice. You document it 3 times, and he's off the detail. You're 35. You've been married to this job longer than most marriages last. You own a condo. You sleep in maybe 15 nights a month. You have a car you barely drive because you're always in government vehicles. You go on a date. First one in 2 years, she asks what you do. You give the vague answer. She looks you up online later. She ghosts you. Too intense, probably. Or she doesn't want to date someone who's never around. You're good at this job. You run a tight shift, 0 incidents on your watch. Your agents respect you. The detail leader respects you. You're promoted again. Assistant detail leader, GS15, $150,000. You're in management now. Level 8. You don't stand post anymore. You coordinate agents who stand post. You plan the operations. You brief the director. You testify before Congress about budget needs. You know the president's schedule 6 months out. You coordinate with State Department for overseas trips, with local field offices for domestic travel, with military for secure transport. You manage 60 agents across multiple shifts. You know their strengths. You know who's burned out. You know who's getting divorced. You try to rotate them appropriately. You can't always make it work. An agent fails a drug test, prescription medication he didn't disclose. You have to fire him. He's got 12 years in. He'll lose his pension. He begs. You can't help him. Policy is policy. You sit in the PEOC during a threat, credible intel about an attack. The president is moved to secure location. You coordinate response from the command center. Threat is neutralized. False alarm, mostly. Guy made threats online, had no means, but you can't assume. You always respond. You work 60-hour weeks in the office, more when the president travels. You have an ulcer. You take omeprazole daily. You don't sleep more than 5 hours even when you have the chance. You're 39 years old. You've given 15 years to the service. You've missed weddings, funerals, births. Your brother had a son you met when the kid was 4 months old. You brief the incoming president-elect's team transition period. You explain how protection works, and they ask if they can opt out sometimes. You say no. They don't like that answer. They adjust. Detail leader position opens. You apply. You interview with the director. You've earned this. You get it. Level 9. You run Presidential Protective Division. 200 agents answer to you. The president's life is your responsibility. Every movement, every event, every trip, you sign off on all of it. You brief the president directly. You explain security requirements. They push back. Like, they want to work a rope line longer. They want to take an unscheduled stop. Like, you say no when you have to. You're not their friend. You're their protection. You attend National Security Council meetings when relevant. You coordinate with FBI, CIA, DHS. You read threat assessments daily, credible threats, aspirational threats, insane rants. You evaluate all of it. You manage the budget. $120 million annual operating cost for PPD alone. You justify every dollar to oversight committees. You request more funding. You're always denied or partially approved. An assassination attempt, gunman at a rally, shots fired. Your agents respond exactly as trained. President evacuated unharmed. Shooter killed by counter sniper. You're on site within 90 minutes. You personally debrief every agent involved. You write the after action report. You testify to Congress. You make the morning shows. You're famous for a week. You hate it. You don't do this job for recognition. 3 agents have emotional breakdowns in 1 year. The pace is unsustainable. You know it. You can't fix it. You don't have enough agents. You can't lower standards. You keep pushing. You're 43. You make $170,000. You have a government pension waiting. You have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, chronic insomnia. You take 4 medications daily. You don't have a family. You don't have close friends outside the service. You have colleagues. You have subordinates. You have the mission. The president's term ends. New president. You stay on initially, then transition out. New leadership wants their own people. You understand? You're offered deputy director of the Secret Service, not just PPD, the entire agency, protection and investigations. You accept. Level 10, eliminated. Dignitary dead. International incident. Your responsibility. You brief the president. You brief the Secretary of State. You testify before Congress under oath. Security failure happened on your watch. You offer your resignation. It's accepted. You're 52 years old. You've given 28 years. You have a full pension. You have 3 commendations and 1 catastrophic failure that will define your legacy. You take a job in private security consulting. Fortune 500 companies pay you $400,000 a year to tell them how to protect their executives. You work from home. You set your own hours. You're bored within 6 months. You're alone in your house. No mission, no protectee, no threat to assess. You were a weapon for 3 decades. Now you're retired. You don't know what that means. You think about the kid in level 1 sitting in that bland office, clean record, bright eyes, ready to serve. You remember being him. You wonder if you'd do it again. You don't have an answer. Somewhere in Maryland, a 24-year-old sits in a bland government office. My fluorescent lights hum overhead. He's filled out a 57-page application. He's listed every address, every job, every foreign contact. The interviewer asks if he'd take a bullet for someone he disagreed with politically. He says yes without hesitation. He has no idea what he's signing up for. The cycle continues.